what melanin is. The body of Osiris still lies in 25 different places. We're still searching to put that body together. Well, the body of Osiris is in the melanin. It is in the lattice. It is in the matrix. Science presently states that melanin, or neuromelanin, in conjunction with other pigment molecules such as see, they put these words here just to mess with you. Isopentanoids functions as an organizational molecule for all and in all living systems. Melanin is therefore considered an organizational trigger capable of using established properties such as photons. Listen to what I'm saying to you, beloved brothers and sisters. Photons. What are we talking about? Light. Capable of using such properties as photons, electrons, phonon conversions, or free radical redox chemicals, ion change mechanisms, and semiconductive switching capabilities that directs energy to strategic molecular systems and sensitive hierarchies of protein enzyme cascades. Now, I can explain the whole damn thing what they're saying to you, but all they're saying is that I don't know what the fuck melanin is. All I know is that by this, there are important factors that have to do with melanin. Without melanin, shit don't happen. That's what they're saying. In my book, I do break down, by the way, everything that they're saying there into its component parts. I diagram the sentence for you so that you can actually see where the subject, the object, and the verb, and the adjective, and all of that is about. But here right now, I want to get right to the meat of the matter. Science fails to realize that melanin is not just an organizational trigger capable of utilizing established properties such as photons, electrons, etc. Melanin is photon. Melanin is electrons, neurons, muons, and phonons. The problem with Western science is they think that what they see in the distinctions of phonons and so forth is different from the melanin that they're observing. It is not. Melanin is that. Melanin are these properties. And the ambient wave energies that they use, the way that melanin as an intelligence brings these particular things together, is the intelligence, the germ, the river Nile rubbing right down in the middle, calling forth the life. The fragmented perceptual model of Western research science translates the activities of the effects that are seen into the modus operandi of the cause unseen. They believe that melanin organizes because of the effect this etheric intelligence, this dark or unseen intelligence in matter enlists. But melanin is intelligence, the intangible dynamic of divine mind that gravitates or organizes unseen elemental compounds of light into what is discerned as the geometric lattice or matrix that frames the omniscient intent into natural substantiality. That was from me, not from them. This is why science cannot study the material husk or representation of what they identify as melanin, because as soon as they get it into the lab, dissect it, dismember it, or destruct it, it disintegrates. Without its gossamer threadings that connect its byproduct to the divine intent of universal mind, it becomes a lifeless shell that confounds the priesthood of Western medical research. Every time they try to touch it, it disintegrates in their hands. It was not meant to be touched, it was meant to be felt. Right away, our understanding or overstanding of melanin changes when we stop looking at it as this deficient or defunct color that we have. And I'll explain that later. This is not melanin. It no longer has the light glowing from it, the light that made you the you in the you man. This is not your indigenous melanin, the one you transduced as life into this corporeal body, the one that you distilled yourself into as intelligence. This is not melanin. So studying this is an exercise in futility. And I say that with all humility to the teachers that went before me. because they blaze the way. Another chemical definition, or another clinical definition, states that melanin is capable of regulating a wide range of molecular interactions and metabolic processes, primarily through its active or effective control of diverse covalent modifications. All it's telling you is that it has properties that enlist the action of other properties to do functions not directly connected to it. Which means melanin ain't just your skin and your face and your body. Now listen carefully. In my investigation of the clinical data related to melanin, such as given above, I have noticed that there is an almost contrived absence of information about melanin being what I considered as a biological interfacing mechanism to more higher, subtler densities and dimensions of awareness. Melanin falls into the occult or metaphysical realms of subtle body phenomena. Why is it that the European who are in the New Age, answer me this, how is it that they are now taking all of our ancestors' information, distilling it, dissecting it, homogenizing it, watering it down, and giving it back to us, and still not giving praises and due thanks to the fact that it was melanated people that put this together? Where is the outrage of this whole New Age movement over this thing called racism? That is a psycho-spiritual tumor that lays on the consciousness of this present humanity, and they are as yet to address that. If you are so much into New Age, then the New Age cannot begin unless there is reparations, not even a thought or a reaction to the old age and where you were at that time and what you played into. How dare you pimp the legacy that came from our dark matter consciousness, take it, pervert it, use it as yours, and then not give it back to me. You're going to perish for that. We must not only study the interfacing physical components that weave together the atomic structures of intelligence, but also the very intelligence that does this. Again, we must not only study the interfacing physical components that weave together the atomic structures of intelligence, but we must also study the very intelligence that is able to do this. And its divine primal intent, motivation, and ultimate reasoning. Again, conspicuously missing from all scientific data is the motivation of melanin. Let's sit with that for a minute. The motivation of melanin. Why is it organizing? Why is it using photonic charges, muons, and protons? Why is it using these things? The study of melanin does not have anything to do with the fact that it has a pigment that has to do with intelligence. What is the motivation of melanin? What is the intelligence? What is the divine dynamic? Why does it organize? It is, they say, the organizational molecule that lays the foundation or infrastructure conduits that channels or focus the various frequencies of sensual intelligence to biological entities. If this is the case, then it is truly a mechanism of miracles, and as such should be studied as voraciously and as tenaciously as we do the Bible. Let me say that again. If this is the case, then melanin is truly a mechanism of miracles. If it organizes and does everything that they say at the subatomic level, why are we not making this something that they teach the children from primary school? And as such, it should be studied as voraciously and as tenaciously as do the Bible and for the average man and the average woman. We study the Bible to hell. We tear that to pieces. We rip it apart and we study every line. We don't know what the hell it is. We've got preacher pimp taking it apart. Old low blow Creflo, Pippadollar. In a treatment and study conducted by the Institute for the Study of Consciousness, I found literally hundreds of references given to the research of melanin. This was graciously given to me, by the way, by Dr. Ann Brown. The researchers found that neuromelanin is capable of self-synthesis. In other words, it needs no other activant or adjuvant to bring it to life, to cause it to do. This means inherent intelligence, the capability of self-regulation and self-correction. They also found that melanin may, one, possess two melanocentric systems, key molecular systems in which melanin plays a central, if not controlling role. Two, they say that melanin may have a role in embryological organization and tissue repair regeneration by way of sustained or direct current. Sustained or direct current. When we use the word current, what are we talking about? Electricity, light, energy. All this is considered in addition to its possible control of the major homeostatic regulatory systems. That is, the autonomic, neuroendocrine, and immunological systems. That means the immunological systems, as well as the autonomic and neuroendocrine systems, are under the control of melanin. Why do you think they're spraying? Whoa, John. If melanin has direct connections and electrical pulses that connect it directly to these functions, the autonomic, neuroendocrine, and immunological systems, it would mean that an attack on this particular thing called melanin would be the component to destroy the genetic base for intelligence in the new species of melanated peoples. To stop us from taking the quantum leap to our next inheritance in the flesh. To trap us here to become closets for walk-ins. To become the closets for people who want to change clothes. You being the clothes. The extraterrestrials now know, and all of these reptoids and reptilians know, and they already stated that they cannot use the blood or to become part of the blood of the indigenous peoples of this planet. They can only use the purebred, they call them, the white or pale, blue-eyed blonde. That means the only way that these reptoids and these other mind-controlling entities who come from other dimensional vortexes, they have to go down to come back, and they can't get back or pierce the veil of their own consciousness ceilings. They are coming back to use you because you are the ones who fell the deepest, the furthest. Therefore, you're going to raise the highest. Wow. So your vehicle is going to be used. And these reptoids know that they cannot deal with the indigenous children of the sun. Why? Because the indigenous people from this consciousness programming is insulated by the programming that was given to this consciousness vector. You are insulated, so they had to water you down and then hybrid you. The way they would terraform or they would breed piebald cows, the black and white ones you see as Elsie. That's a hermaphrodite cow. And what else did they change us into except hermaphrodites and piebald people? This poisoning of the atmosphere is an acclimation process for them. To destroy your atmosphere is to create the weakness in you necessary to create the strength in them. And until you understand that, and do like Brother Delbert is talking about, getting these particular things, everything we need right now to help us in this battle. Because it's not a battle with guns anymore. Pretty soon, when you understand the secret of vibrating the body and then turning at 90-degree angles, you can disappear. You ain't got to worry about them. They don't worry about you. Thus, by previous definitions, it would seem that melanin is an intricate component and the most essential factor to the processing and synthesis of biological life. By its very ability to synthesize light by way of photon-electron phonon conversion, as well as ionic exchange mechanisms and semiconductive switching capabilities, it would seem that melanin is an encoded light fixture of interdimensional biospiritual consciousness. Let me say that again. Just like this is a light fixture, melanin is a sublime gossamer light fixture, because the only way you can fix light is through and keep the properties of the life of the light is through a gossamer instrument. And by gossamer, if you understand gossamer, gossamer means very ethereal, very light, almost feather thin. The only way light can actually conduct the intelligence of dark matter consciousness into 7-band light spectrum consciousness, which is what we operate in today, is through the gossamer filters that then become the intelligence conduits for melanin's intelligence and organizing capabilities. Light is the substance that gives form to the word. Listen carefully, children. Light is the substance that gives form to the word or frequencies of infinite mind. If science tells us that melanin is a light synthesizer, a photon, electron, phonon converter, then in occult science, that which is identified as melanin is the lattice or matrix that divine intelligence constructs so that it may house itself within the corporeal temples of flesh. Melanin has to be the framework of intelligence, the multilineal lines of demarcation that traces the encoded instructions that are transmitted through light codes to our consciousness time zone by way of Merkaba programming that constructed our 3D reality. Let me say that again. Melanin has to be a framework of intelligence, a multilineal line of demarcation that traces the encoded instructions that are transmitted through light codes to our consciousness time zone by way of Merkaba programming that constructed our 3D reality. The Merkaba programming is the seed that comes from the central core galaxies that creates, that ejaculates the intent into the darkness, into the womb, into the vagina, into the throbbing, wet, juicy vagina of dark matter. Melanin has to be a construct of universal synergistic code. Melanin has to be a construct of the universal synergistic code, that empathic, listen carefully children, we're going to redefine everything. The empathic, cohesive harmonic, listen carefully, that empathic, cohesive harmonic that we define three-dimensionally as love. New word for love. A new phrase for love, because love can no longer contain what has got to come through as love. We've abused that word. That word, the social consciousness, has love in pornography, has love in everything else but what love is. So we have to change the syntax. We have to change the consciousness realization and our definition of it. So I call it the empathic cohesive harmonic, because it attaches us to the higher. It keeps us empathically connected, and it is a harmonic. It constantly grows. It constantly defines itself each time you strike the chord. Each time you make love, each time you are love, each time you show love, you release disease. It is because you hold on to so many doubts, so many regressive thoughts, that you don't give love unconditionally, that your melanin stays in stasis. They have taught you how to hate. They have taught you how to ignore. suffering. And that is what awakens melanin. If you do not understand that the empathic, cohesive harmonic is what distills melanin into what it is that the Most High Father Mother wanted to give birth to, then you will stay here locked in as light code lockdown slaves for the regressives, those of the Lucifer matrix who broke away from the original intent of Lucifer, that was to reveal evil by being in life. That was Lucifer's original intent, to take the light, to synergize it into the darkness, to invaginate, and thereby his existence with all the rest of those who agreed to fall into dark matter, to fall into the lowest ebbs of matter, and to reveal the intrinsic evil that was in that thing that he worshipped as God. The first thing, he was the first dissenter, the first rebellious, the first rebel. That's who Lucifer was. He taught you to question. You don't take authority at their word, rather to rule in hell, to serve in heaven. That had a greater import than we know. Here was Christianity and everybody telling you, don't listen, don't study Lucifer. You need to study Lucifer.
That's right.
You understood who Lucifer was, you wouldn't be running so far. You wouldn't be going back to that damn church. Because the demons run that. The above characteristics of melanin make it an information processing instrument, or more precisely, a decoder of white light. Melanin is a vectorizing system for the transduction of light into specialization as biospiritual consciousness. I got to put it all down now. You can study the tape. As melanin becomes blood, listen carefully, children. As melanin becomes blood, which is a rarefied differentiation of light. Listen carefully, children. As melanin becomes blood, which is a crystal, the liquid crystal. This is why the crystal is going to work. As melanin becomes blood,